Hey guys, me again, Orkslayer, what ifs? And like I told you last time, I was taking a break from the what ifs I was doing. Sorry if you hear Samson whining in the back. He is trying to annoy me again. Eat your food. I put it down for a reason. Eat. I put grease in it and everything. You should love it. Anyways, you're gonna make my chair fall over and you're gonna fall off and look stupid. You know that, right? But anyways, don't you dare claw up this chair. It's nice. It's my gaming chair too. No, that's a lie. This is just an office chair. Whee! It spins. Oh no! I'm knocking over my stuff. Woo! Ah. All right, got the stuff in order. Stuff was falling over. Anyways, sorry for the little interruption. But where we last left off, yeah, I'm taking a break from the other what ifs because I just sort of lost the passion to do them. And this one's been on my mind for a little while because I remember the Darksiders series. I remember the characters in them. And I thought I could make this work. So let me give you a rundown on all the horsemen of the apocalypse, at least in the Darksiders series. First, you got Fury, which the normal horsemen are pestilence, famine, war, and death. Only death and war are the same in this. So, in truth, we got Fury and Strife. Strife is he is actually the charismatic sort of jokester kind of guy. Imagine Cade 6, but with a darker history. Actually, never mind. If you know Cade 6, you know who he is and what he's done. Alright, Fury. In the Darksiders 3 game, she starts off as cocky, arrogant, and all the things above. But through the course of the game, she learns to become humbled, better, and starts to care for humanity again. I feel like I'm going to jump all over the place. Give you a rundown. War is the youngest of the horsemen, so to speak, for some reason. Carries a giant sword, has a fake giant arm on fake right arm? Yeah, I believe it's right arm. I mean left. And, well, he's honor, and all that sort of stuff that comes with warriors. Then you got Death. He's somewhat of a... He's somewhat of not a jokester, but he makes jokes. He also is very wise in some cases. He knows things. He's also a necromancer because he's, guess what, Death. His weapons are, of course, the scythes. War's is, like I just said, a giant sword, but War is like more of a tank, while Death is like a sort of agile... He's like a very agile assassin, more is how I would maybe describe him, because he's also very good at climbing, jumping, and swimming, so he's the person I would say rely on to take somebody out. Then I'll go on to Fury again to give you a better description. She is a horseman of Fury, like I said, arrogant, blocky. Now she's more humble and all that, but she carries a whip. Yeah, pretty much a whip, a bladed whip that she can slice around and everything. She also has abilities that she's granted in Darksiders 3, but I will not be giving her those because I feel like it would be somewhat cheating. Since all the horsemen get like special abilities, I'll probably be giving them the base abilities that they get, not these extra. Because in Darksiders 3, Fury gets things called the Hollows. Like there's the Flame Hollow and the Lightning Hollow, I believe, to just name a couple. And what they do is that they give her flame attacks and lightning attacks. I may give it to them later down the line, but not right away, to give it like somewhat of a fair balance. But I digress. Then you got Strife. He's like Cade 6, like I explained. He uses 2 guns that never run out of ammo. Ever. Death and War both get their hands on one. Death gets Redemption, and I forget which one War gets. But Redemption never runs out of ammo, but it can run... Okay, it does run out of ammo, but you never have to reload it because it will recharge naturally. War, if I remember, is it never runs out of ammo, but it does less damage. Fury doesn't get any guns, unfortunately. She just gets, whip and a few other fun weapons. Then you got, well, pretty much the people that they get followed by. In this world, it's going to be set like after humanity has been resurrected. Heaven and hell are sort of put back into place, and the Charged Council has been dealt with. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, that's right. It's been dealt with. As the horsemen don't see really a need for them to be around anymore. So, to not complete the cycle, but they all watch over humanity for eons. As we don't know what happens to humanity when they come back. All we know is the horsemen arrive, and the apocalypse actually begins. But apparently, Fury had been able to shepherd away the remnants of humanity away to a safe place. And so she became their guardian somewhat. Fury came to train these humans, is what I would say, and that's how they were able to take their land back. But over the thousands of years, humanity pretty much became a very warrior-like race. Because Fury understands that they would also need to know how to protect themselves. So she trained them like how they were trained. And horsemen are what we call the Nephilim. They were made from angels and the ashes, sorry for my stuttering, the ashes of angels and demons. And they were created by Lilith. They were all formed into this. The Nephilim pretty much became a wandering band of mercenaries, warriors, killers, anything really in between. And then they eventually set their sights on Eden, was what it was called at the time. And so they set forth to try and take it for themselves. But the 4 horsemen betrayed them. Heaven and hell worked together to stop the Nephilim altogether. So technically, they're the last of a race. But she trained them like they were trained. They were put through some hardcore training. And over the years, and countless hundreds, if not thousands of years, humanity became more hardened. Similar to, I would say they're more like the cog soldiers from Gears of War. As eventually when they returned, they were ready to kick tail. As they all marched forward, let's say, they conquered the lands and everything. They subjugated demons, angels, anything that really stood in their path for reclaiming their kingdom. The armies of hell fell before them, and the angels retreated up above to their golden city, as humanity finally rose up to be the great challenge that they could be. Where did I leave off? Oh, yes. But anyways, humanity reclaimed everything that was theirs, and only theirs. The horsemen sort of faded. Nobody really knew what happened to them. Some say they simply ascended in a way. That the creator came back and saw what they had done. The name of the balance, so to speak. And he raised them up and turned them into something more. Not gods, as some people would say, but something else. Some say he granted them a wish, saying that they wished to be with their brothers and sisters. None know what happened to the Nephilim, or if the Creator even cared about them. So, it was all speculation. What had happened? Where did they go? How did they decease? That is the question they all pondered. But all that is known today, in the year, I have no idea what year it is in My Hero Academy. Let me just make up the just if you know the number, you know the number. It took humanity almost 10,000 years to rebuild everything, regrow, and untaint the land that was once there. So magic is a thing now. Angels and demons are now a thing. People know about them because humanity, unlike before, made sure history was learned and remembered by everybody. Just so it doesn't, as in fairy tales, oh, it all faded up into my words fail me. Obscurity. Jesus. The people of the past took Death's words literally. As before all the horsemen left, they all gave him parting words. Death gave him this: remember the history. Remember history, for it will always shepherd you forward. Death has a really cool voice actor. I cannot do his voice. I wish I could. It's very, very cool. I don't know how to put clips in these videos. I don't know if I need to download them or something like that. But he leaves them with the message, remember history, for your kind often forgets it. As then that's when he left upon his horse. Despair. There we go. He left upon his horse Despair and rode off. Then came War's words. War left him the parting words of, a warrior. He says, honor binds you so that you yourself, honor does not bind you. It helps you in your darkest hour to reinforce what you already know is right and what is wrong. So then he rode off on his horse, I forget its name. Then you got Fury. She leaves these words. I once looked down upon your kind as weak creatures that simply knew how to kill each other. But then I became your shepherd and saw how you would take care of one another. And I saw how you loved one another just as much as you hated. In all my journeys, I found great ordeal. And I hope you do not forget this either. As she parted her ways with those words. As she reminds them to love each other, not love each other, but stick by one another and show each other the same courtesy that you showed in those dark days. Then she went over and, then Strife comes along. Strife's like, I'm not too much for all big party words and all that, but I'll say this. You fellas, you guys know how to treat your brothers right. Just like my sister said. But always remember the good times and always think about the little things. Well, that's all I got for you. Bye. As he literally just rode off after that. As they all rode off into portals, desert, or whatever. Nobody knows. Like I said, this is the only part that is obscure, is what happened to the horsemen. Everything else is remembered. Even the smallest event, which has somewhat made of a special thing where humans are now known as the document keepers. They remember everything that happens in their realm, or on Earth, for good reason, because the last time they didn't, it brought heaven and hell both kicking in their door, then at the same time kicking them in the teeth and breaking their kneecaps. That wasn't good enough, they both lit them on fire, with different kinds of fire, holy fire and hellfire. Yeah, it wasn't a good time to be a human. So, that brings us today. Along the way, the creator did, and I'll tell you what the creator did do with Fury, War, and all them. As the horsemen rode off and they heard the creator's voice call to them, they came to him and they listened as he gave them the question about, and this is where some people got right. They all were given some form of a wish. So they did. What they did was this. Only two of them were really given wishes. War and Strife, though Strife did help protect humans, he did not shepherd them as Fury did. And though War did uncover the treason that the Charred Council did, he did start the apocalypse, so he didn't get what he wanted, but he had his wish fulfilled. Destroy the council. But Fury and Death, well, Fury asked for the humans to be given a power of sorts. That the strength of arms that they have alone and their understanding of magic will never be enough to keep their world safe and from the hands of heaven and hell. So she requested that each human be born with gifts. That's where quirks come in, is that they were given by the creator. Now you have, well, Death. Death asks for something that even surprises the creator. He asks for his brothers and sisters to be reborn in a way. To be reborn into that of the humans. For they are the last of their kind. Then Death says that if they are okay with it, he would be fine with them coming along. Because Death has lived very, very long. He's somewhat tired, in a way. He's completed his objective, brought balance and all that. But he thinks that he should be closer to humanity in a way. Because as Fury even agrees with us, that it would be good for them to have a place to call their own. They can't call Eden their home, because that was not theirs. So as the creator pondered this, he agreed to it. He somewhat took their souls, destroyed their physical bodies, and turned them into their full souls. As he says, in 10,000 years you will be reborn. If by then, well, not if by then humanity shall have regrouped completely. Hopefully the world you left will stay the same. As he sent their souls off, as in 10,000 years they came back. Death is, of course, Deku, like I said, and he will meet his brothers and sister along the way. But as Death doesn't fully have all his knowledge at the moment, he'll be more like a guiding spirit maybe, while also being an infant. It would be a weird way of how this is going to work. But as Deku is born, everything's, there. There's Inko, Hizashi, and the world is a bit better than it was in My Hero Academy. Sure, villains and all of them are still on the rise, but their numbers are significantly reduced, and the villains that are out there are more or less the ones that have been given offers by demons, or they just work with demons, or demons work for them. That humans are neither good nor evil, they are gray. Well, some are just completely black-hearted evil doers, but you get what I mean. We don't belong to any side, really, in that universe. So, as Death is reborn in such to Inko, he very much looks like Deku at the moment. But as years go on, he will somewhat change. His body is a bit different, though. How's the way to... Death is kind of lengthy, but he's also pretty sternly built in a way. So that's what doctors would eventually point out, is that he's kind of weirdly built. I almost yawned there. And Deku's abilities, as Death does have multiple abilities, every one of them will have their chaos or havoc, whatever, reperform, all that sort of stuff. I think it's Carnage, Havoc, Chaos, Reaper. We all know who Reaper is. Chaos is War, Havoc is strife. No, havoc is fury. Strife is carnage, I believe. But as I digress, Deku grows up pretty normally, or Death, whichever you prefer to call him in this instance. He grows up pretty normally. He goes to school, meets Bakugo, things like that. This is a very interesting thing, as Death is actually slowly but surely recalling memories as he talks to his mom about dreams he has. And in school, they do, like, the teachers do teach him at a very young age about the war between heaven and hell. And with humanity stuck in the middle, to emphasize that they're not beating it into the children. They're just getting the children to understand this is real. Now, few people in the past who did become skeptical of this, oh, how do we know? People just like, all right, here, snap their fingers. They literally summon a demon, summon an angel. It's like, all right, angels and demons are real. What do we do? We continue to do what we've been doing. We're humanity. We don't roll over when anyone else says so. We roll over when we want to. As that is the general sentiment about humanity. If heaven or hell attacked them, they both would be getting a bit more than they bargained for, because it was supposed to be like this, is that humanity was supposed to be able to stand on equal footing with heaven and hell. They didn't get that chance. Now they do. Especially with the powers they have now. Demons and angels alike actually openly fear. They openly fear All Might. Now, we do not know, like, how fast or how fast the demons and all that are, but they all look like they're somewhat... I would say that demons cannot stand against All Might. The only thing that they could possibly do is with magic, and it would take a lot of them. I would say, for someone to match All Might, it would have to be Samael, one of the strongest demons that we know of. When I think, and if that's how I view it, is that each race has their strongest. You got, as far as we know, Samael, or the Prince of Darkness. Prince of Darkness is dead. He doesn't even matter. Well, I think it was Satan. But what happened is that Samael is the most powerful demon now, in charge of all of hell, or all the hells. And then you got, I don't know which is the strongest angel. I'm pretty sure a lot of the strong ones died. So, I would say maybe Azrael. No, was it Azrael? It was one of those angels. But they have the strongest angel, strongest human, and strongest demon. All Might is acknowledged as the world's strongest human. The armies of... Even Samael thinks about going toe-to-toe with All Might, and he doesn't even know who would win. If I remember, Samael has some form of foresight, meaning to be able to predict the future. And even he does not know how that battle would end. He would say it's a 50-50. If they both went their max power. Samael was said to be strong enough to pose a threat to the destroyer of Earth. And it took War, a horseman, to take him down. Armed with the Armageddon Blade, which is one of the most powerful swords in existence, I believe, and it broke the 7 seals. Yes, the 7 of the Apocalypse. So, that's how it is. They are born into the world, everything's all somewhat sunshines and rainbows, aside from demons here, angels there, and even angels and demons, they've come to like it on Earth, saying that humans are cool. The less sadistic and creepy ones, at least. Or demons, both. Which one are we talking about? The angels, the demons there. But, aside from that, everything's good. As Deku grows up, he gets more and more of the knowledge Death has. And he somewhat lives through the memories, as he remembers one day he's playing with Bakugo and all of them, as he's like as they're all running around, as Bakugo's talking about how cool his quirk is as he's blowing stuff up. He's like, yeah, and I'll definitely become the strongest human there is. As Death's like, highly doubtful, but still can't discourage his heart. As Deku's like, what did I think about that? As in, Deku's like, yeah, your power is so cool, Kachan, as he keeps on going with that. As eventually we go to hear where it goes like, so what's my child's quirk? He's like, well, we can't really identify it. It seems that he has, from what we can detect with even our magical abilities, he has magical prowess. It doesn't seem we can find out what his affinity is. So until then, he has a power of some sort, be it quirk or magical. Otherwise, from what we can tell, it is pretty immense. As we go through it, Deku's like explains this to Bakugo as they're like, well, hey man, quirks aren't everything now. You know that, right? As Deku's like, yeah, I know, it's just cool. Quirk would be so cool. He's like, boy, you can, as you hear Death in the back of his head, we can raise armies of the dead. Well, actually not armies, we can raise like 10 of them at once, but still. And also the giant reaper form. I miss my scythes. Wait, what about despair? Or even the crow? Jesus, what happened to all my pets? As Death's like, God dang it! As Deku grabs his head, he's like, Bakugo's like, are you okay, Deku? He's like, yeah, Kacha, my head kind of hurts for a little bit. He's like, why don't you go sit down for a bit? As then Death's like, at least Fury would be happy that some of these kids aren't letting the power go to their heads. As Deku actually just sort of thinks in his head, who are you? Am I going crazy? My mom talking about this once. He's like, no, child, you are not going crazy. I am, well, your past life. He's like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Is that my power? I can talk to my past lives? He's like, maybe. From what I can tell, the Creator sent me here, and we will fuse one day. Somewhat. We are one and the same, technically. You are a younger version of me, by all means. He's like, oh, really? Yes. But you mustn't tell anyone, as Death does not know what people would hear about a kid with a disembodied voice in their head, talking about the ancient days and the war of the Nephilim, because then that would poke a few heads up, like, how does that boy and what does that thing in his head and telling him, as then he thinks Samael would take a very excellent opportunity to take you and train you as his personal fighting minion. As he's like, fighting minion? He's like, yes, Samael is the most crafty demon out there. Almost as crafty as the prince, or the last prince. But I digress. For now, I think it would be a great idea for us to work together. Me. It's like, alright, older me, I guess. Deku's like very confused. Deku very confused right now, as am I, child. As then Deku is one day playing at the park, as when Bakugo is actually, as they're going across that log in kindergarten, Deku does this as Bakugo goes to fall. It's like, Kachan, watch out! As when he sticks his hand out, a very bony skeleton-like hand stretches out and catches Bakugo in the palm of its hands. As it's like, oh, cool, Deku, I think you unlocked your power, or quirk, or whatever that is. He's like, oh, that's cool. As Death's like, keep focus, child. If you lose focus, you may accidentally crush him. As like, wait, what? Don't panic, that's gonna make it worse. As Deku actually had closed his fist, and then sort of brings Bakugo over and drops him on the dry land. As Deku's like, are you okay, Kachan? He's like, I'm fine, Deku, as he like dusting himself off. That's a cool power you got. Oh, we gotta tell everyone at school. As they're like, yeah. As then Deku's taken to the Quirk Doctor and Magical Doctor, as they both run the test, and is like, this is magic based, most definitely. As Quirk Doctor's like, well, your son is quirkless, but it seems that he won't be completely defenseless. So if I may suggest, I suggest you taking him to magic schools, or like a magic class or something like that, to learn how to focus this ability. Because this is, trying to remember the exact words that we would use for this, but I don't remember. He's like, and it's something about projection, being able to summon skeletal energy, just magical energy. Some form of weapons, I have no idea. As then it's like, oh, all right. As he actually gets signed up for the medical school, the magic class, as then Death's like, as he feels a presence, he's like, this presence, brother. As he's like, brother, what do you mean? As then Deku turns his head to look around, as then he sees a kid staring straight at him. This kid walks over to him, and this kid's pretty tall for his age, and he's around Deku's age too. As he sort of sits down beside Deku, as he's like, do you have one of those things in your head too? He asked me to come over here. It's like, yeah, mine said the same thing. What is this? As then, somewhat if their minds link, they hear, death, war, it's good to see you. As it is good to see you as well, brother. As then Deku and this kid are confused, is like, what? This is my brother. As Deku's like, wait, death. Holy, as before you can say anything, somewhat of a, as War's like, kid, close his mouth. As he's like, boy, close his mouth now. As he closes Deku's mouth, as he's like, we do not need others knowing about us. We may talk later, correct? It's like, yes. As he swallowed his spit, he's like, so, what's your name? As the other kid looks down on, my name is... As the kid sort of folds his arm and says, hello, I am Tenya Ida. It is a pleasure to meet you. As yes, it's Tenya. And I will explain in the next part why it's Tenya. Anyways. I hope you guys enjoy this. Hope you guys continue to enjoy this. And hope you guys have a nice day, nice night, nice life.